So I have a lot of these deep, dark spaces to look into and see darks. And there's some wildlife. Um, I was thinking, I asked my friend Margaret, who I took my first watercolor class in when I taught at Hay Center, Nebraska at a high school with her. And some of you probably know Margaret from workshops. But I sent her this study that I did, and she said she was referring to Steve Kittredge, and he said, "Where's your hero?" I thought, I don't know. That's the problem I have. I want everything to be a hero. But I think something else that Irv Shapiro said in a workshop one time was, you can't eat eclairs all day long. So, in other words, you shouldn't have everything really an eclair. You need to have some restful spots. I have a hard time doing that because I love color. But so anyway, I start with a photo and then I put it in my sketchbook. This is a new sketchbook. I start new sketchbooks when I want to have a clean slate. I never finish them. But anyway, so I do a drawing. I always start with this kind of sketchy outline to have a frame around it. And then when I'm working, I like to put some thoughts. And so later, then I have something to generate titles for my artwork. Oh. I'm not a word person, but so this one I have peaceful reflections along the fox, getting afternoon light, driftwood. I don't know, you can go on, but it's kind of a fun thing to do. So I have this, and this is the work I'm going to. You know, you never go without having a work that you've worked through. You know, it would be kind of a interesting thing. I often paint something more than once, you know, and paper is one of those things to get you 2 times in life to get it right, because you have the front and the back. Not everything has that. But what I'm using today is called hot press watercolor board. And this is Crescent. I think Irv Shapiro used watercolor board. You have to let me know if that's true or not. I kind of forget. And the other thing I do, because I'm getting a little bit older and I don't remember where I put everything. Does anybody else have that problem? So anyway, I have this, and I shouldn't move it because it might ruin the camera system. But I have this and I set it in front of my paints or beside my paints. And I do pretty much know where everything is. This is a John Pike palette, which I've had for a very long time. And so I know where all the paints are, but I can also make little notes about paintings. And I have a few of these for you. I only brought 40. We can pass those around. If anybody is interested, you could also just take a picture, you know, if you want. It'll be in so those, yeah, and she'll probably put it in the newsletter. So anyway, that's my arrangement of my paints. So the paints that I have right now, no paint is ever written in stone because we go to the shop, the art store, and we find a new color we want to try, right? So with that in mind, one of my students gave me these, and they're wonderful little things. They're actually for jewelry, beading, if you do beading. So it's the top and the bottom. She glues hers down, but she's very meticulous. I'm not. And so I just kind of set them near where I want to have other colors, and they're kind of in the color wheel arrangement. Okay.
Where do you get those?
Hobby Lobby or Michael's.
They're
Yeah.
called what?
They're for jewelry, beading. For beading, they put little seed beads in them.
Yeah.
And this is the bottom. It also has a top that you can use.
Containers.
Yeah, it's just a little plastic container. And she glues hers along the side. So anyway, she gave me some. And they really are nice because they fit right in this John Pike palette. So, all right. So So, and this is another one that I've worked on. I almost always try to get sort of a diagonal entry into a composition. And I don't know, Margaret, what's the hero here? I don't know. I think it's over here. I wanted it to be here, but maybe there's a secondary one. I have more than one eclair. So, so anyway, and that's on watercolor board as well. So, I have this drawn up, and I don't know if you can see it or not.
Oh, yeah.
Can you, it's dark enough so you can see. Okay. So let's see. I think I procrastinated enough. And so my paints, as you can see on that, are all different brands. I have a couple spray bottles for moistening my paint. I don't always put out fresh paint. I'm also very thrifty. It should say stingy, but I'm thrifty. I like thrifty better. So I never really throw away any paint. And if you get cold by it, does stay soft, and M. Graham stays soft. But there are some other Daniel Smith that gets hard, which can be hard on your brushes if you don't get them going. Nita Ingalls never, I think she just put fresh paint on top and kept, but you want to use an old brush if you're reconstituting your paint, because you don't want to use your good brushes. Just like paints, when you go to the art store, you try another paint. This brush is another Earth Shapiro thing. It's a squirrel brush, and I've had it for over 40 years. And I keep my brushes really nice, the handles. I kind of discovered this because I took floral design in college. If you put floral tape around your brush handle, it keeps water from going underneath into the ferrule of the brush. And you won't get your the finish won't crack off. Of course, we know we don't leave them sitting in water either. So is another thing I like to do is get my brushes that I might be going to use ready. So that's squirrel. I don't know what this one is. It's an Isabie. I think they're made in France. I have a couple of those. They're mops, which are really nice. I have really nice fine Kolinsky sable. They hold a lot of water. I also use synthetics. This is a Raphael. It's an imitation Kolinsky. I don't know how you imitate Kolinsky, but so those are my brushes. And okay, so when I look at this artwork, what I do first of all is I think about my color scheme and my plan. I usually have a color wheel, but I don't see it. My bag lady didn't pack it. So, but the color theme of that is kind of an analogous color scheme in that the colors are close to each other on the color wheel. So if I start with yellow, it's pretty much going to harmonize the whole thing, because yellow is the basis of greens, blues, and of course the warmth is along this ridge here. I'm not going to use any masking fluid because this lifts on this hot press board very easily. Okay, so let's see what we need to do. I did spray my paint. So this is Hansa yellow. I've used lemon yellow, a lot of different yellows. I try to have a warm and cool of each color. And I should have put out all my paints fresh. When you're painting, you use up things. Let's see it. I wanted some more Quinn gold. You don't see here. Quinn Gold.
So you're gonna start wet on dry.
I just work, I don't wet the whole paper. No, I don't wet the whole paper. This board uses less water, so you kind of have to judge that. So I'm just going to start here where I have these nice, lovely, bright yellows. But it doesn't matter where I put it because this undercolor harmonizes with everything that is going on. This is warming up the yellow. Quinn Gold has a wonderful ability to be very transparent, and you can see how that's a little warmer now. So I'm moving toward my eclair or center of interest a little bit, so I can warm it up a bit. But the trick with this is not to use too much water. I tend to use a lot of water and then you have to wait a while for it to dry. But that gives you a chance to go get a cup of tea or go to the washroom or something. Okay, so see, I want to warm it up a little bit toward my hero down here.
Can I ask a question, or would you prefer to wait until the end?
If I can answer it, I will answer.
Okay.
I can't hear you very well.
Do you find any differences between painting on a watercolor board versus on a watercolor sheet?
Hot press paper.
Yeah. It
It's
looks
quite a bit the same. It still has kind of a slick surface.
doesn't buckle.
But this is, but even hot press paper, you can't use a lot of water. You know, it sits on the top. I mean, you can use it, but it sits on the top.
Okay. Do you ever use cold press?
I use 140 cold press. Most of those are probably done in 140 cold press. I also use rough. And being a thrifty lady, I never throw away a sheet of paper, even after I've used the backside. I like to use gesso on paper, and that makes it, it doesn't absorb, you can lift. It's a wonderful material to use, and you can sand it or you can leave it rough, you know, and then you have some texture. I like that a lot.
You just brush the gesso on with a white brush?
Just, yeah, just a nice, probably more of a stiff brush rather than a soft brush. So now I have kind of a toned board. I could have gone over the trees.
If you use gesso, when would you put it on?
Well, the gesso is, so you have a spoiled painting, let's say, or you could plan it so that paper's dry. You pulled it out of your stack of rejects that didn't go to the burn pile. And then you just paint that gesso on a dry paper. It's on a dry paper. And you paint it going one direction and then the other direction. As I said, you can sand it if you want to. So the boards are a little more expensive, but you don't have to put a backing board on them. No, I can't get that word. Anyway, you don't have to put a backing board on this, and I've made a 2-inch border all the way around. And usually that's what I frame or mat my artwork with. Okay, so it's pretty dry. You can see it's pretty dry. It's not going into this. So now I'm gonna start adding some darks. I have that toned, I kind of toned the water a little bit. When I do the water, I do vertical lines. I try to vary my brush strokes as I go. So now I'm going to develop some darks. And I have this wonderful Praline green, which
Kind?
it's on that paper, the dark green over in the corner. I like that dark green. You don't need it. You can get a rich dark without going that route. But I love that color. Look at how dark that is. You can see how dark that goes. So then I'm going to use this spray bottle. It will add some texture in anything that's wet, and then I can also paint and the leaves will go. Oh, this reminds me of Nita Engel. Some of you that took her workshop probably remember her telling you this. She used to use the Windex bottle, and she said that she would go into the store. It's a little pump one. I have one in archive. But anyway, she said she used to go into the grocery stores or wherever hardware store where she was buying it, and she would practice to make sure it had a varied drop. So what this is from Hobby Lobby, and it gives a wonderful varied dot. You can get that with salt too, but I kind of like this accidental thing.
Can't see it back here.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is it's $2.49. Hobby Lobby. I've tried other pumps, but I don't think they're as good. So let's see, I want to have a nice big puddle of this color. Sometimes when I'm at home, I have little tiny vessels or bowls or something, and I make up a lot of these dark colors so I can go to them and get some nice rich color. Now I want to save some of this glow over here, so I'm going to also splatter a bit, move my brush around in some interesting movements. You never want to go all the same direction when you're painting. So you can add the water while you're painting. I want to save this nice bush here. So there's the glow coming through. I can spray it while it's wet, and you get these wonderful textures like leaves. And because I put that yellow on underneath, it's doing some nice things. So I want to vary that color in the dark. I don't want the darks to be boring, so I'm going to put a little purple with that. And it's a little darker over in here. So let's see, I'm going to put a little darkness in here. I use this towel, I think. Who remembers the workshop from Bjorn? Does anybody remember that? It's hard to forget. Wasn't he handsome?
Yeah.
He still is. I want the space up on the top to be a little bit cooler because it's influenced a little bit by the sky coming through there.
Carol, you keep the board flat?
I do with this, yeah. When I paint with the 140 or the other cold press, I put it at an angle. A little bit of lightness coming through here. I love cobalt turquoise. It's nice, cool blue. When I draw, I try to draw in an angle. I'm left-handed, so the angle usually goes this way. And then I use Conte crayon to get back some lights. Now I kind of have to mind this because when it starts to dry is when you want to spray it and get more texture. I want this to be a little bit more green up here. That's kind of interesting. Okay, so there's a little darkness down here. Too much water. I love these brushes. They're like, you can paint the edges where this is kind of the horizon here, and that's where the sky would meet the ground. I used to tell my kids, I taught elementary school for 25 years after I came to Illinois. It's hard to get a high school job. And I decided God knew what I needed because we only had one child and I had a little bit of nurturing to give out yet. So it was perfect. But anyway, I used to tell them, maybe everybody does this, but it's where the sky kisses the earth. And they used to get a big kick out of that. You know, kiss, oh my. You know, mention the word kiss with kids. So I want to try to keep that horizon line kind of indicated there by changing what's going on. So that's kind of negative painting what I'm doing here. I'm saving kind of the grass edges. And I want it a little bit darker. And if you have trees, you don't want to stop at one side of the tree and not go across to the other one. Otherwise it looks kind of disjointed. Okay, what's happening up here? I got to get this going here with some nice rich dark. This is my hero tree, so you want your darkest dark and lightest light where you're kind of quiet.
Carol,
Like
can you
your
tell us,
elementary classroom.
Yeah,
can you tell us again what kind of brush that is?
it's an Isabey. It's Isabey. I think that's how we pronounce it.
Is that the squirrel?
Um, you know, I don't know the fiber of this one. It's a natural fiber, but I don't know what it is. I have to research that. Who's my research girl? Lori.
Yeah.
She can research anything for us. I'm a little hesitant what I say because she records and puts it in the newsletter. I say, oh no, did I really say that? This is kind of the boring part where you're trying to cover your spaces. I don't think I got enough variety of color in there, so I'm gonna zap some more color. You can keep working as long as it's wet without getting runbacks. I kind of like runbacks, so blooms, as Bjorn would have said, blooms in his wonderful accent. See, how is it going here? I think,
like 5 minutes till break.
pardon?
You'd like 5 minutes till break.
Oh, okay. Well, you can take a break. I might keep painting because I'm kind of slow. Take a break anytime.
Take a break.
Well, look at all this space I have to cover. What do I have? A half an hour left? An hour? Oh, an hour. Oh, okay, an hour. Well, when I get this in, yeah. So,
Yes, because we had a really long meeting.
We did that one.
okay. Well, I know people want to go for lunch and go back and get some wonderful snacks, go home and paint. I saved my hero over here. I get that darker yet. When you put out fresh paint, you don't have to work so hard to get it going, you know? So that's a good reason to, put out more paint, fresh paint.
I know. I'm not there yet.
Ernest Shapiro passed away in his 60s, isn't that right? So young. He's so young, he had a lot of painting to do yet. But he has all of these people. We have Tony and Dave that continue to paint, his proteges, and have ventured out on their own. That's the thing, when you take workshops, you want to glean some things, but you have to be true to yourself.
That is true. Yeah, I knew it myself.
I have to get some darks down here.
You need to find yourself first.
Yeah, I'm still trying to find myself. At a certain point, you can't worry about what you're going to be when you grow up. Yeah.
I know, yes.
And at some point, you stop worrying about whether your squint's going to make wrinkles or not.
My solution is just not looking in the mirror. It works perfect. Always.
Yeah, close the care.
Yeah.
Okay. A little dry up here. Right. You have to have a happy medium here of when it's dry and when it's too wet. This is just a palette knife. So this is kind of a timing thing. It has to have a little bit of sheen, just losing its sheen actually. So to make sure we get a lot of these. That's why we had to go so dark. We want these branches and trees to show up. And if you don't go dark enough, you can't get this. Are you tired of hearing about Herb Shapiro?
The paper is still wet at that.
Yeah, it's wet. It's just losing its sheen. If you do it when it's too wet, you get a dark line. If you do it just right, you get a light line.
Right.
Because I think Shapiro said he also used his fingernails. That's the first time I ever saw anybody do that.
I was gonna say that he used to use his little stubby finger and he was.
Yeah, it was like that brush dancing, wasn't it?
Just use a little finger and he just scrape right into it. Do a couple of them.
Yeah, and you think, wow, that made that come to life. I think we should have some kind of a little get together, Shapiro people, and share all of his little things he said, because he certainly inspired me. I also studied with Kathy Wilson Smith. If anybody know Kathy Wilson Smith? Yeah. I actually, I took a workshop from her and then I drove down, I think she lived near St. Charles, if I remember. Her husband was a farmer. And she was the first one that I really thought, wow, she uses color. And I love that aspect. So it's kind of, you can see why you can't just leave and have a cup of coffee sometimes. You have to kind of mind your washes and things. Sometimes I get carried away with this, but you can, if you need to soften an area, you just use your finger and go over it, so you have a broken line. And actually, I could have done the whole trees. And what's kind of nice about this, and you might see it.
Can't see anything from back there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Come up closer.
Oh, that's
There's a couple more chairs. What was I going to say?
You were say something about what was nice about the way you had the trees hardly negative painted.
Oh, right. So you can, you actually get harmony in your color when you scrape. You know, if you use whiteout to do all these, you don't necessarily get the harmony of color. You have to go back in and do some work on it. But this, it's like, well, doesn't that just belong there? Because it has, and the yellow comes through underneath. So it might be like the light is hitting it. You can always hope that's the goal you're going for. So I probably need to do something. See if I can get something else going. I don't want that area to be kind of a negative space, but I like the way these branches just swoop down here. It's doing. So Actually, you shouldn't leave your brushes lay on the side where you wipe your towel because it ruins your brushes. So I'll just put them over here. So, okay, so now I have to just think what to do. So I want to tone down these trees here, first of all, and then I want to come down here and put a layer on this because it's too light. But I just, I think I'm showing you more technique than really a resolved painting. That's what I'm telling myself. And I'm going by it. Okay, so, yeah, I want to put some color down here and tone these trees. And I think, oh, there it is. Yeah. So I have this one that my cheek one that I did ahead of time. And so this is my tree that I kind of want to put it over here. So I want to put the warm here. This one's not as important, so I cooled it down. Kind of a reason behind that. You ever get paint on your brush and forget where you were going to go with it and what color you had?
Clean it up.
Yeah. So, and so I'm using the Quinn Gold now. And I think this is brown matter. Brown matter. I'm gonna put a little of that in. I don't have burnt sienna on my palette right now. So, and I want to put a little red in this because our next art show at the gallery, this invitational, is amour or love, adding a touch of red to your painting. So that's the next invitational one. So of course you have to paint with where you're going to exhibit, right? I don't think you're supposed to do that, but that sounds good. So I'm gonna put a little warmth in that tree there. This brush is so nice. It holds a lot of water. It holds a lot of water, and you can paint forever with it. That can be a problem because you should change your paint color once in a while. So I'm going to gray this down now, and it's a red. The complement of red is green, so I can gray it with a little bit of green if I want. Look at that nice, and then it will have some harmony. I hope it will do it anyway. I might not have a dark enough green. There we go. That's pretty good. Yeah. Also, the complement of yellow is purple. So if I want it, this one I use purple. But I think I'm going to see what this does. Well, it's too close to the yellow. So I can lift that up, and I'm going to put a little bit of purple with it. Gray it with purple instead. Yeah, that's better. And then we don't want to just have it on one tree. We want to make the trees look like they're friendly. So that kind of helped, don't you think? Kind of helped tone that down a little bit. And now this one's way off to the side, and I don't want it to be the eclair, so I'm going to use some purple that's grayed a little bit here and gray it down. And I really like sap green as a basis. I think I put that on that. I like sap green as a basis for making greens. Kind of jump starts it. You can do it with yellow and blue, but this sap green, if you add blue to it, you get darker. If you add yellow, you get lighter. So if you just want one green on your palette, I think Irv Shapiro used to use olive green, which is really nice for darks. Cool it down a little bit. Sometimes I put my finger where I'm wanting to work next because it helps me to remember what I was thinking. want to vary your brush stroke whenever you can. I think that works. So now I said I was going to go down. So I think this works now. It reads across, our eye jumps here. I also have the trees at an angle, which God put them that way to begin with. But, so that leads your eye in. This angle here leads your eye in, this leads your eye in. These branches going down like this will hopefully lead it to my thing here. Yeah. I think this one is burnt umber. Burnt umber's a nice one to gray things with a little bit. And I want to do this driftwood a little bit. Oh, I think I need to warm that up. So I'm going to use some of this. Ooh. Gonna look earthy there. These driftwoods also point toward my, how did that happen? Just in nature. Nature did that. I think my friend Dave said that, I've also taken classes from Dave. I think he said if you want it to look like water, you have to do a zigzag. Is that right?
Reflections.
Reflections should be zigzag. Yeah. So we're so fortunate in this area to have so much available to us to study art. When I grew up in South Dakota, I didn't have art until I went to college. And I was like, oh, I think I can do that. You're always looking for something you can do. And move over here. I always find water to be kind of elusive, you know? It's reflecting, but okay, so we're moving over here. Now, some people would probably use saran wrap and get some really nice textures. My friend Liz Miller is the master of using cling wrap. She can use it to make just wonderful, wonderful things. My group of ladies that when I taught at Main Street, I don't teach at Main Street anymore. Dave teaches at Main Street. I sub for him if he happens to go on an adventure when he's out of town. That group of ladies, they're called the Watercolor Sisters. We used to go out. We also used to go out for lunch, and we went to what is it, Biage's, and somebody went there for Christmas. and somebody made a reservation, and they didn't get the idea of watercolor. They called us the water cooler group. So it kind of stuck. So we were called the Water Cooler Sisters for a long time. But they're supposed to be rocks. Kind of in the shadow, not too important. I like to use lavender. It's such a pretty color. So I try to find a spot to use it in my, and it grays down. It's a complement of yellow, so it kind of works here.
Is that a full line glass?
Yes,
Okay.
full line. Yeah. That little cheat sheet has some of the manufacturers of the colors. And some little notes, which I need to make more notes because I used to study color a lot and I knew all the aspects, but now I don't quite remember. I just use the colors and hope they perform.
Carol, can I interrupt for a second?
Yes, please do.
This was found in the Lady World. Well,
Sorry, old lady brain.
thank you.
Starting to have a heart attack here.
Oh, that phone, we have to, so much easier when the phone was connected to the wall, wasn't
By the way, fine.
Oh, my. Laughter is good for the soul, you know? It helps us live longer. Where that's coming from. You can always gray a color, but it's hard to get it bright again. You know, you can put a wash over it and gray it, but if you don't have it zippy enough to begin with, it's kind of hard to get it. So err on the side of brightness, you can always tone it down. Look at that wonderful texture. You can't make that. You know, people that paint with oil paints or acrylics or pastels or colored pencil, they have to work so hard. Every mark they make, they have to put down. Watercolors, you put a little color and do something to it and it kind of paints itself. It's like magic. You have to, and you have to be willing to let it do some of those things. Even you think, oh, that's not what I planned. Kind of, okay.
No, I have a question.
Mhm.
Do you work with layers, like regular paper on that board or?
Yes, you can. Yeah, you can. Yeah, definitely.
And it doesn't come up and it doesn't mix with the new layer?
I think it's, the color below always shines through a little bit, like this yellow is. So, and if you use it more in a more opaque way, you can cover pretty good. And it also lifts well. If I get there, I'll show you how well it lifts. So you can correct things and get some white back. I also use white. Not if you're going to go into TWSA, but I've never made it into TWSA, so I probably shouldn't worry about that. But we can always dream, and if you don't enter, you don't try, you don't get. So why not? And the thing is, the money that you give them, even if you don't get in, helps support the arts. And we want to support the arts, right? So We should have people that have gotten in, like, our 3 or 4 people in here that have gotten in, share their secrets for getting in. Of course, I know what it is. It's you got to put a lot of miles on your brush. You have to work. They don't just, I'm assuming they don't just get in. They work real hard. They put in the hours. Sometimes they sacrifice a little bit to be able to do that. Now this is kind of funny here. I got this shape here, this shape here. I like the shapes going here, but this is awfully funny. So we might just put a little something over that to change it. Warm it up over there a little. I have to get dark behind this bird because it's a white bird. So I have to somehow decide what I'm going to do there. I can't use that color there. My tree is this warm color. I want to put warm there, but I have to put a little, change the color. See, some people would know exactly what they're going to do. I kind of play by ear and hope it works. Oh, do I have a stack of failures? Even when you paint on both sides. Then you know what you do, you cut it in strips and weave it together. Yeah. How many of you have done that? You have a warm painting and a cool painting. You can cut the warm painting and wave the cool one across it. Yeah. So you don't throw anything away, right? Which is
What genre does that fall into?
hoarding. Show it, John. Well, it would be mixed media, wouldn't it? Well, it could still be watercolor. It's still watercolor, but maybe would it be in collaging, montages? Yeah, it's still. So now I put this color here, this bright, wonderful color. So I have to put it some other place.
Was that cobalt teal or?
What was it? It was the green, the phthalo yellow green by Daniel Smith. And probably a little phthalo, cobalt, turquoise. You should kind of try to repeat what's above it, but I think if you just give it some movement, it looks like water. There's always a stage that an artist gets to with a demonstration, and then that's over, and then they bring it back, and it looks really wonderful. You never get to see what they've done. I think almost everybody does that, I think. I don't know, maybe not. Some people can do it. A painting in 20 minutes, not to mention anybody was name. And it turns out perfect. But that person's put a lot of miles on his brush. I know.
Yeah.
That's my hero.
Got about 10 minutes, Carol.
Oh, okay. So, I think what I'll do is put this on the side and I'll bring this out because I want to show you some of the things that you do to finish that you can do with, basically the same thing, but having a lot more work. You can see a lot more things are going on here. So, I want to get this lovely little Kolinsky brush. And I'm just going to do a few little things on here. I'm going to do some nice little, whoop, that's not dark enough. Get darker. And maybe a little grayer. So purples complement. We'll put a little, you don't have to buy the neutral colors. You can make them yourself, which is kind of nice to do. So we can keep doing that. I also want to show you how you could lift, oh, I've been using paper towels. Wow. Maybe I need this branch here to go across. It's always good to have overlapping. So look how you can lift with this board. It's my head over it. So look at how you can lift. This board lifts so nicely. And then you can add a little dark shadow underneath to what you lift. Maybe I want this to be a little lighter down here. This is what the artist does when they go back to their hotel after they've done a demo for you, and they come back with their work and it looks really wonderful. And you wonder, how did they get there? So this is the futzy stuff that you do. Now you don't have to do this. It could be called finished the way it is. But so if you lay down some water, this is a synthetic brush and it's pretty, keeps its shape really nicely. You don't want to have too much water. You want to regulate the water. And everybody knows about Mr. Clean Sponge.
Oh, man, make a great center.
Yeah, the magic eraser. That's wonderful. And then I have some of these, they're scrubbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a Fritch scrubber, and they're real stiff. You can make your own though if you're an oil painter and your brushes are kind of past their prime. You can cut them down and use them. We never throw anything away, right? Okay, so I want a sunspot. I like sunspots. You can use stencils. I save all kinds of things with off your spice containers. They have little circles.
Holes.
Yeah, the little holes. So you can, but this brush works really good for doing little circles, I found. So these are like little sunspots I can put in here, which I think are kind of fun. So you have all this organic stuff going on, and then you add a circle, and that's a geometric, which kind of, you know, makes it kind of interesting. You can also spray and lift. So maybe I want more texture up here. See if I can get it to do it. I have hard water. My sprayer is starting to get a little. So it lifts it subtly. Maybe not enough to really see back there. That one lifted a little bit more. The spray bottle is nice for leaves because you get this irregular shape.
Carol, do you ever use anything other than water to lift, like alcohol or?
I haven't, but I think there are people that use it to make textures and things. Since this is all water soluble, I found another wet spot there. It's all water soluble, so you really don't need to do that. If you want to get back to the white of your paper, if you use, you don't have any magic. Oh, I do have a little piece. Oh, good. So, if I want it to lighten an area, maybe I want to add, maybe I want this branch to go up a little bit higher. So if I tear my tape, masking tape, if I can get it to go. You don't want to use this straight edge. And sometimes if it's too sticky and you're worried it's going to pull up your paper, just put it on fabric and it will lift. Now, what's nice about lifting on rather than the maskoid is, once again, you have to have it really dry. Your hands dry, not much. And then you can scrub. I do whole areas of trees in the winter after I've done this wonderful dark colors in the back. Then with a magic eraser or Mr. Clean sponge, when you get the sponge, you want to be sure that it is, see how that lifted? But it doesn't ever get it back to the white. You can get it back to the white, but you have to clean your sponge and wipe many times. I think I'd like this to peek through another space here. So you can use the tape over again. And you can really regulate how thick your branches are going to be here. So right there. So that's a little technique. And that
Just
got
plain
a little,
masking.
Yeah, look at that.
this is just
Masking.
masking tape. And when I do big trees, I tear it. This is old. You have to get your masking tape has to be rather new. It tears funny. So when I do that, I just tear it so that it has a rough side on each side. You can put down the masking tape and paint around it, and you get a wonderful tree shape. Or you can put it so that you clean out the space in between. The other thing that we want to do is negative paint. And you maybe can see where I've done a little bit of it already. So, and just a few little dot dashes, sometimes adding a dark color can bring your eye down to an area that's you can see I've already done some negative painting here, but maybe I want this to look more like grass-like. Well, the time must be about up.
Yeah, 2 minutes.
2 minutes, yeah. 2 minutes, we could give a little shadow across this rock here. Bring it to our hero a little bit. And that was a warm color against what was kind of a cool below it. So it's all about light and dark, warm against cool, organic shapes against geometric shapes, and not having all eclairs, right? Any questions? So if you haven't been to Annie at Fine Arts Foundation, I invite you to come, and we do have that new invitational show. We also have a fundraiser coming up. It's called Galentine. And we have a couple of vendors, a little fashion show. It's another fundraiser. You know, we all need to support the arts, and the Art Center in Antioch needs your support. Thank you.